What is up guys, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 here, and today's video is going to be another fun one. We're going to be comparing the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 against the Sony ZV-E10 II and see which camera is better. So here's the interesting part. DJI actually reached out to me to ask if they could sponsor a video where I compare the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 against the Sony ZV-E10 II, and I was like, absolutely. So while this video may be sponsored, my goal is to still bring you unbiased shots with side-by-side comparisons, and I'll sprinkle in some of my opinions, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're gonna be the judge on which camera you think is better. And let us know in the comment section down below, because I really wanna see where everyone falls on this one. All right, let's start off by comparing the image quality that you can expect out of these two cameras. And we're gonna start off a little bit simple here. We're gonna set the cameras to 4K 30 frames per second and use the default picture profile, as well as setting the settings to auto. So that way we get a sense of what the out-of-the-box image quality looks like. Alright, hopefully that should have given a pretty good idea of what the out-of-the-box footage looks like from both of these cameras, so now let's push it a little bit further. If you're a bit more experienced as a video shooter, you might be familiar with log footage. And if you're not, log footage is basically a color profile that cameras can use that results in a low contrast, low saturation image that you can really tease out and color grade to an artistic style to really push the colors in post-production to get the look that you want. And both of these cameras have log picture profiles. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 uses D-Log, while the Sony ZV-E10 II can use S-Log 3. On top of that, both of these cameras can shoot in 10-bit 422, which just simply means that they are able to get a lot more color information baked into the footage. So let's compare the log footage from both of these cameras and see which one looks better. Next, let's take a look at some low-light footage compared between these two cameras. Something you might want your camera to do is record in slow motion, and this is where the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 takes a little bit of a win. See, the Osmo Pocket 3 can do 4K at up to 120 frames per second, where the Sony ZV-E10 II can only do 4K at up to 60 frames per second. Now, if you really want that 4 to 5 times slow motion from your Sony ZV-E10 II, you can always shoot in 1080p to get 120 frames per second, but of course you're sacrificing some resolution. Hey look, a crosswalk. I feel like I should just run across it in slow motion for some reason. I'm really not sure what compelled me there. Now, image quality is all well and good, but we also want our footage to be in focus. So the next thing we're gonna test is autofocus. And we don't just want our autofocus to be like locked on, we also want our autofocus tracking to be smooth. So let's see how these cameras do. I also wanted to compare and see how the autofocus works when it comes to both of these cameras' product showcase modes. You know, that thing where when you put something towards the camera, the focus switches away from my face and to the product and back as needed. So let's see how these compare. First up, let's start with the Osmo Pocket 3, right? We're talking about a product and boom, I want to shove it in your face, and we're still talking about this product. You see my face, but it's in focus, and then boom, I pull it away, the focus comes back over here. Now what about the Sony ZV-E10 II? Same thing, we're talking about a product, we're talking about it, boom, I'm putting it up to the camera, you can still see my face, but the camera should be focusing on this product, and then I pull it back, and that's how product showcase mode works. If you're interested in picking up either of these cameras, you're probably interested in vlogging. And what do we do when we vlog? We do a little bit of walking, we do a little bit of talking. And let's start off over here on the Osmo Pocket 3 when it comes to stabilization. Of course, the footage is gonna look pretty dang rock steady because it has a gimbal. Whereas over here on the ZV-E10 Mark II, we're relying on digital stabilization. So I think the Osmo Pocket 3 is definitely gonna look super steady, whereas over here on the ZV-E10 Mark II, it's gonna be a little bit shaky, but definitely still usable, I hope. And it's not just for walking and talking. If you're trying to shoot some cool tracking shots, the gimbal's gonna outperform the mirrorless camera. But if you're trying to do even more movement-centric shots like an orbiting shot, then the difference is gonna be absolutely night and day between these two cameras. Then there are some features that both cameras have that I'd like to compare, starting off with the Osmo Pocket 3's Glamour effects, which basically adds a skin smoothing effect to the subject's face. And on the ZV-E10 Mark II, we have the same thing but called soft skin effect. One thing I forgot to mention is that DJI's Glamour mode is just one setting in the camera that's either on or off. But if you use their DJI Mimo app to process the video, you can actually change quite a few settings. Whereas for the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II soft skin effect, it just has a low, medium, and high mode. So here's another feature I want to talk about and highlight. On the ZV-E10 Mark II, it's actually lacking a feature that the ZV-E1 has, which is auto reframing, where it'll automatically crop in, use AI to kind of figure out where you are and kind of reframe the scene, make it look all dynamic as if you're being followed by the camera. But obviously, as you can see here, that's not the case. You just have a stationary shot. But over here on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, we have ActiveTrack turned on, and it's currently tracking my face. So as you can see, as I move around, the gimbal will actually rotate the camera, pan, and tilt the camera to follow my movements. This adds a bit more dynamic movement into the frame, and if you shoot by yourself a lot, I find this feature to be extremely helpful. Another benefit of that ActiveTrack feature is I can use it while I vlog, so I don't have to actually be as mindful of where my camera is being held or pointed. The camera will always end up pointing at me. Whereas on my ZV-E10 Mark II, I have to be a lot more intentional about where I point the camera. If I'm like looking off, not at the screen, I might not be centered in frame, or I might be off to the side. This way, it's actually super easy to frame. And here's another thing. What if I start running and there's obstacles and I'm like, oh God, I can't look at the camera. Pretty sure the Osmo Pocket 3 looked pretty good on that one, and the ZV-E10 Mark II did not look as good on that one. Something else I wanted to test with these cameras is their audio quality. And right now you're listening to the internal microphone from the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And now let's compare that to the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II's internal microphone over here that you're listening to right now. And to give credit to the mirrorless cameras that have been coming out lately, the internal microphones have been getting significantly better than what they used to be. But the one thing that the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 can do is how easily it can pair to the DJI Mic 2. And as a matter of fact, you can actually get one of these with your Osmo Pocket 3 if you get the creator bundle for about an extra $150. It doesn't just come with the microphone though, it also comes with a few other accessories as well, which makes it a pretty good deal. Whereas with the ZV-E10 Mark II, I would highly recommend getting some sort of external microphone solution. There are third-party options that I love that are pretty affordable, and there are also first-party options from Sony that are really good, just a little bit pricier. All right, so let's take a look at the prices of each of these cameras and other considerations on what you'll need to get them going. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 costs $519 for just the camera, but I would recommend picking up the Creator Combo instead for $669, since it's going to come with a bunch of useful accessories like the DJI Mic 2 and a windscreen, a wide-angle lens, a mount adapter with a 1/4-20 thread, a battery handle, a mini tripod, a protective cover, and a carrying case. The Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, on the other hand, costs $998 for just the camera, or $1,098 with the 16-50mm kit lens. Though, if you were planning on vlogging with this lens and you wanted that out-of-focus background effect, you'll have to get a lens with a wider aperture, something like the Sony 11mm f1.8 lens, which you can get for $498 at the time of this video. And like we talked about before, if you want to upgrade your audio setup, you'll want to look at a third-party on-camera microphone like the Sennheiser MKE400 for $169, or go with a Sony first-party option like the Sony ECM B1M for $348. Let me start by saying that both of these camera systems are fantastic, and anyone hating on one camera or the other are just hating. On one hand, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 has a 1-inch sensor that can deliver some really stunning looking footage if you know what you're doing. And on the other hand, the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II has the same sensor as the FX30, which is an incredible Sony Cinema line camera. But of course, there's gonna be pros and cons of each of these systems, so let's go into that. What are the pros of the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II? Well, to start off, it's a full-fledged mirrorless camera with an interchangeable lens system, meaning that over time you can build a collection of lenses, everything from wide to super telephoto, so that you can achieve exactly the type of shots that you want. And while both cameras have great autofocus, Sony has honestly some of the best in-class autofocus, so it can really keep up with every kind of demanding situation, whether that's sports and fast-paced oriented stuff, or just regular casual everyday stuff. And if you really wanted to, you could fully rig out the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II to turn it into a professional workhorse camera. Kind of a foundation to build a full arsenal of equipment, everything from a lens collection to all of the accessories that you'll need that you'll carry over into your next cameras. Because let's be honest, of the two cameras, this one can grow with you the furthest. Okay, what about the pros of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3? Well, let's start with image quality. It is shocking how good of an image you can get out of this honestly cheap and consumer-feeling product, but in the hands of an experienced videographer, you can really push this camera to get some fantastic footage that you could cut into other, short films or cut into client projects. And honestly, if you shot it right, people shouldn't be able to tell the difference. But the beauty of it is it's so beginner-friendly that you can put it into the hands of somebody with very little experience and they can still capture some stunning footage. And how about price? If you get the creator combo, you're spending less than $700 and you have just about everything you need to shoot all the content you want to shoot. And maybe there's a few other things you could pick up along the way, like ND filters, like these ones I have from FreeWell, but really at the end of the day, it's very budget friendly. Then there's the fact that the Osmo Pocket 3 has a gimbal. You don't have to buy a separate gimbal. With the Osmo Pocket 3 on its own, you can capture some really smooth looking footage. And then there's the size. As the name suggests, the Osmo Pocket 3 is pocket size. I can literally shove it in my pocket when I'm on vacation or going out with my friends. I can pull it out, capture those memories, and then take it home with me. I don't have to bring a camera backpack with me. I don't have to lug around a bunch of gear, but yet I can still capture some great looking footage. And all of these pros is the reason why I put respect on the Osmo Pocket 3. Take for example these car roller shots we got a few weeks ago. We used the Move Max blade stabilizer to mount the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 to the car, and then I was able to control the camera from my phone while we filmed these sick rollers. Could we have done it with a camera like the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II? Absolutely, but there would have been way more considerations. It's a bigger camera, the lens adds more weight, I would need to make sure that the stabilizer has a lot more suction cups on the car, and in the worst case scenario, if that suction cup fails and the camera falls off the car and hits the ground and just breaks, with the Osmo Pocket 3, I'd be out $519 to get a new camera. With my mirrorless cameras, I'm probably out like $2,000. I'm not saying I'm reaching for the Osmo Pocket 3 when it comes to a client shoot, but I'm saying that you should consider what tool is the best fit for what you're trying to accomplish. So between these two cameras, there's really no wrong choice. If you want to vlog, if you want to capture memories, if you want to create cinematic looking videos, both of those will get the job done. But if you do want just the easier option to start with, I highly recommend the Osmo Pocket 3. And if you manage to get to the point where you're like, this camera is too limiting and I want to upgrade to a full frame camera, or I need a variety of lenses, well, the Osmo Pocket 3 can then become a fantastic B cam. Alternatively, if you want to hit the ground running knowing that, hey, I'm gonna build out a full set of lenses, I have a dream of doing a lot of videography, I know I want to get telephoto shots, I know I want to get wide angle shots, I know I want to get that variety in my videos, then the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II is also a great choice. Alright, that's it for this one. Let me know in the comment section down below which of these cameras you liked better. And if you enjoyed this video, consider getting subscribed for more content. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.